We made the mistake of having amusing banter without starting the video recording.
We'll just have to put the audio recording part starting before the video recording.
I am wearing the least interesting shirt for a Halloween episode that I possibly could find.
This isn't the Halloween episode. The Halloween episode's coming later.
It's Halloween season,
We're doing
though.
The Arcane Sorcerer for Halloween.
This is October month. Assuming we can get back in the studio in 2 weeks' time, we'll have a Halloween episode.
I have planned this into my schedule.
All right, so we're going to get in Arcane Sorcerer for the end, but I am Phil.
And I'm Willow.
And it's Del Toro time. It's Del Toro time. We are back with the Ecstasy of Influence, and we are back with a story we have covered how many times?
A million.
A billion times. Story of a boy.
Who makes a boy.
And makes a mess.
And then his wife gets killed.
And the story is Pinocchio. No, it's Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Frankenstein.
Frankenboy.
A story
We're waiting for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
We are waiting for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro loves Frankenstein to death.
Yep.
So much so that he has made it...
Every movie.
Every movie is a Frankenstein movie, but he's been afraid of making Frankenstein until now when he's actually...
doing the Frankenstein.
He's making Franken.
Mankin.
Franken and Beans. Oh, Beans and Frankenstein himself. And this is 1994's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
By Kenneth Branagh.
Yep, a Ken Branagh joint inspired by Francis Ford Coppola's 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula, which touted itself as being the most accurate Dracula ever made, which is not true. If you look, there are... What? What?
If you're gonna make the most accurate Dracula ever made, you have to understand the movie's gonna suck.
But there were some very good Draculas made for television in the 70s, I think, that were like very close to the book. But Coppola threw in like a bunch of the whole like Vlad the Impaler stuff, and he interpolated the whole like, oh, she's a reincarnation of his lost love from when he was a warrior. And
just let Dracula be a creep, okay?
He is a man who literally went to vampire college in the mountains and became a vampire because he made a deal with the devil. The end. There's no tragic story to Dracula.
He's just a creep.
He's a creep and a creature.
He scurries up the wall like a little lizard, which I misread as him turning into a little lizard.
He doesn't turn into a lizard, but he can if he wants to. We know he can if he wants to. But
I want him to be a lizard.
Nobody turns into a lizard in this movie. So Ken Branagh, really quick, started out in the Royal Shakespeare Company as a very young man. He made his mark on the world with his movie of Henry V in 1989, which I watched in school. Followed Henry V, where he played Henry V. He directed and played Henry V. I believe he wrote the screenplay for it as well.
Just like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
He is the Lin-Manuel Miranda of his day, except he cannot rap, as far as I know. But he can do Shakespeare, and really, isn't Shakespeare the original rap artist?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about with poetry and blah, 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 blah.
But we're not going to because we're talking about a boy. He followed that up in 1991 with Dead Again, which is a nutso crime thriller. It's so worth watching. Peter's Friends, which is a nice comedy drama. And then the 1993's Much Ado About Nothing.
Which I loved.
Which is a fantastic movie. Not even Keanu Reeves's terrible portrayal of Don John can bring that movie down. It's charming in its own way, and I just love that movie to death.
It's a good movie.
Watched it in high school on video with my friend Marge, who was a very nice person, I guess. I don't have anything else to say about Marge. But then, the next year, 1994, he decides to do Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which was, I guess, originally given to Francis Ford Coppola's production company. I think Coppola was maybe attached to it at one point, but then Branagh decided, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what Coppola did with Dracula. I'm going to do the most accurate Frankenstein adaptation that's ever been attempted. It's going to be big budget.
Why is he doing this in that picture?
I think he's, in his Wikipedia picture, he is gesturing. I don't think he's, I'm going to make it the best of Frankenstein. This movie was a bomb. Fortunately, he followed up in 95 with In the Bleak Midwinter, also known as in America as A Midwinter's Tale, which is just a delightful movie.
And then Hamlet.
And then his 4-hour Hamlet, which I saw in the theater, had a intermission. Then he did a pretty good Love Slavers Lost, a decent enough As You Like It. I've never seen The Magic Flute or Sleuth. And then in 2011,
Thor. Great movie.
And then Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit. I didn't even realize he'd made a Jack Ryan movie.
And then the only good live-action adaptation that Disney's ever done,
Cinderella. Followed that up in 2017 with his Murder on the Orient Express, which people liked. All Is True, I don't know. That horrible Artemis Fowl that everyone hated. But then Belfast, which everyone loved. And then Death on the Nile and A Haunting in Venice.
Haunting in Venice was awesome.
Death on the Nile people didn't like, but Haunting in Venice people did like.
I really liked it. I saw it with my mom in the theater. I was not anticipating anything. I didn't know anything about the movie when I went into it. There's one performance in it that I couldn't tell if they were being camp or if they were just bad at acting. But it was good.
And that's where we stand on Mr. Branagh. He used to be married to Emma Thompson. He cheated on her with Helena Bonham Carter. They split up. Helena Bonham Carter, I believe, cheated on Kenneth Branagh with Tim Burton. They split up, but then Tim Burton cheated on Helena Bonham Carter with one of those actresses, and so then they split up.
I really don't know if it qualifies as cheating anymore.
You're right. It's more a continuum of relationship.
It's just like, hey, we're all in this sphere. It's like the Mary Shelley's friend group.
It is, yes, it is like Mary Shelley's friend group. So what more fitting than us watching this movie?
Yeah.
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994. I haven't seen it in 30 years.
I might have seen it.
I don't think you've seen it at all.
No, I think the only Frankenstein movie I had seen before watching stuff for this was the one from the 60s. I don't remember what year it was from, but it was the one where there's the girl and he throws her in the lake.
That's the original. That's
the
original.
30s. Okay.
That's the 30s. That's the original.
I watched that at Minneapolis Kids.
Well, it's a good kids movie.
Yeah.
But it's not a good kids movie. 1994's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Are you ready to go into the theater and watch it?
Always.
Here we go.
It's a bad bit.
I don't know. It doesn't even work. It doesn't work on audio. It certainly doesn't work on video.
No.
TriStar Pictures presents.
Are we gonna have to talk over this movie also?
We can do whatever we want.
It's our show.
We're selling This Is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein by actually having Mary Shelley begin.
Yep.
Of the heart.
In 3D. This is too much. Okay.
The surprise drew closer. His
One of the pioneers, Captain Robert Walton, explorer of
It's just the intro to the book.
I mean, I believe I don't need to know.
Look, if you can read.
Did you know that the 19th century was a time of exploration?
Who would have thought? If you can read all of the beginning of the Star Wars movies, you can read this.
That was fast.
That was fast. If you're a sailor, comment down below how accurate.
She gonna rip.
Comment down below how accurate the sailor lingo is in this beginning part.
I remember reading this is the most accurate sailing ever shown on. I don't know anything about
I thought you were being serious.
Nope, not at all. Now do you see this movie is already epic? People are sitting watching this though, and they're like, "What is this? I thought this movie was supposed to start in a graveyard."
Nope. I don't think it actually starts in a storm. In the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's just in the Arctic. Well,
yeah.
The book starts with just a bunch of letters.
It does, yeah.
So, I mean, it's...
accurate.
That's what this should have just been, is just people writing letters back and forth.
This should have just been Mary Shelley writing the tale.
It just should have been a 90-hour-long portrayal of a young 19-year-old writing a novel.
Yeah.
And then her boyfriend going like, Mm-hmm. Or I guess her husband.
Yeah. So we have had one death so far.
Already one death. Was that Frankenstein?
It was Vernon.
Was that Vernon Frankenstein?
Vernon Frankenstein. What is happening?
They're trapped. They're crashed.
Oh, this is when the boy is going to show up.
Yeah, this is the beginning. It's a little more dramatic than it is in the book.
Jon Snow?
You run the risk of mutiny, Captain.
Is that a threat, homie?
It's a threat. It's a threat, homie.
Yes, I did, sir.
Kiss him.
Kiss.
Kiss. Kiss. Kiss. Kiss. Kiss. Kiss. No. Why isn't he Frankenstein?
Why is he so attractive?
Right. Well, he's the handsomest.
Aw, puppies.
Those better not be the things.
That would be awesome. What is this?
What is it? It's the boy. It's your thing. It's the story. You know the story. You've read the story like 100 times.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
Hair still looks good.
Men, any weapons, and follow me.
Those are not very good restraints for those dogs.
No.
Okay, well, so we have the monster murdering dogs now already, which means automatically that's a point
Right.
against the monster.
He doesn't do this in the book.
No.
Turns out the real monster,
Dog
the dog
murderer,
killing
yeah.
monster.
It's,
Now, I'm not one of those people who freaks out when dogs die in a movie.
No.
But you start off with a character killing all the dogs.
you start off with a character, and then you have to try and make him sympathetic.
My name is Victor Frankenstein.
What? I'm the titular character, not the
Yes.
monster. The
Didn't
monster's not Frankenstein. Remember that.
He is my monster, though. Automatically dripped out child.
Drift out child. Oh, I hope the child dies, and I hope that his coffin is pulled by little sheep's dogs or whatever.
Was that what happened in that one movie?
Yes.
Yeah. There's his cousin wife.
Yeah. Oh, that's Bilbo.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't
Bilbo
even
Baggins. Okay, so they're going with the she wasn't related to them. They
Yes.
just took her in off the streets.
And a few years pass.
Mhm.
Is he supposed to be like
A teenager.
young?
Yeah.
Boy, who used to chase fireflies in the field.
Now that you're 15,
Ancient book.
how old is he supposed to be? Please tell me. Mother!
Mother.
This family, man, they do have a good time all the time.
What? She died because he danced with another woman.
What did you do, Bilbo?
Whoa. Okay.
Shirtless Bilbo, bloody Bilbo.
Father's the finest doctor in Geneva.
See?
So maybe
That's in the book. He sees the lightning hit the tree.
and it sparks his,
Right. Oh, elephant bottom farter.
It's I'm gonna guess that her dying in childbirth is going to spark his obsession with how
Right.
life is made and
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
He's trying to tie it all together a little bit more.
Yeah. I think if I ever witnessed this in this time period, I'd be like, I'm never having a child,
Right,
actually.
right.
So,
But the hormones make you forget all of it.
which is actually not true. Scientifically, it's not true. You still remember everything. That's just something they tell you to help you deal with it.
Listen, we're booking it
I
through
mean,
this story. Before we know it, it'll be over. Before we know it, the monster will be dead.
the book is a surprisingly quick read.
Except for the long monologues.
Except for the long
There's
monologues.
long monologues in the book. I remember
Yeah.
those. So this is the opposite of the book.
Yep.
Because the book isn't about him stopping death. It's about
No.
him creating life.
Yeah.
Because we kept making the joke about how, like,
People do that all the time.
we know how to make life, dude.
Changes form. It's possible to convert this candle wax into the convulsions of a mechanical dog.
Why would you want to do that, Victor?
In order to make a mechanical dog move around on stage.
Oh, this is the origins of
He's becoming-
Boston Dynamics
Yeah,
robot dogs.
he's actually going to become a theater kid in this version of the story.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's going to become a weapons manufacturer
weapons
and create a
manufacturer.
robot dog with
To
guns
be fair-
on it. Oh, this is the scene where the little boy chases the kite into the middle of the street and gets hit by the Ornco truck.
And then the cat gets brought back from the dead.
Right.
Yes, of course.
Frankenstein.
That's an alien spaceship in
Right.
disguise.
That's
yeah.
a nope. It's a nope.
God, young Helena Bonham Carter, though.
Yeah. Now she has electric powers.
This is actually a superhero movie.
Yep.
Don't touch each other, you will hurt yourselves.
They're all Magnetos. They're dead.
They die instantly.
My heart!
Dear friends, gather round and listen.
I know half of you as much as I want to, and less and more of half of you as less than I can. The prophets and the harvers and the stewards and the...
Yep.
I remember when Helena Bonham Carter didn't just play weirdos.
Mm-hmm. She's really good at playing weirdos, though.
Yeah, she is. But she was an ingenue.
Mm-hmm.
Our dear brothers and sisters say goodbye.
Not the way you guys are going to say goodbye.
Yeah. You've already called her sister, so don't make it... Well, I guess
Okay.
they're gonna make it weird. You've made it weird now, because you said brothers and sisters.
Stop making out. You're either brother and sister.
What? Whoa, whoa,
Whoa, whoa,
oh,
whoa.
okay, okay.
Yes!
He's got no upper lip.
He doesn't need an upper lip. He has enough beard to make up for it.
Meanwhile, in Ingolstadt, this guy brought a horse!
He's a redcoat, shoot him.
Look
Look at that cute dog.
Putsy.
If that dog dies by the monster, that's an awesome living space.
Yeah, it is. The monster ends up having the dog's head. It's like Dogman.
Yeah. So we've had one boy and like 6 dogs
That what?
that have died.
What boy?
The first guy who fell into the water,
Oh. The mom.
the mom, so 8 deaths so far.
Yes.
What the hell was that?
I don't know who that was. Oh, Henry. That's Tom Hulse.
Oh
the
yeah, they
voice.
need to kiss. Why there's a skull
Oh,
bone.
Brom Bones. He's gonna throw pumpkin at.
Why don't you look where I'm going?
So Tom Hulse is the voice of Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Okay.
All comes together.
Those two need to smooch.
They will. Oh, that's John Cleese. We last saw him in Time Bandits.
Okay, who did he play?
Robin Hood.
Oh! Yep.
He creates a creature that's just arms and breasts.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how bad it smells in there at this point? Oh, I thought it was that big guy.
I'm sorry.
It's a hand. It's a monkey hand.
Oh, I see.
This is how I imagine wizards to be in D&D.
Right. I mean, it is kind of.
Flips him off.
No, I'm serious. You take vaccine, for instance. 30 years ago, the entire concept of vaccine was unheard of, and now we save lives every day.
You'd be surprised how backwards it's gone, Victor.
Come on, Victor. Yeah.
Now you've gone.
You can create life very easily.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is fun.
Yeah, I'd hate to be like an actual doctor back then.
Yeah. Oh, it's pirate school.
Sticking that in me.
Oh.
See, this sort of makes it seem like what is going to happen in this movie is a punishment for vaccines now.
Actually, it's secretly an anti-vax movie.
Yeah.
But no, he was anti-vax, and they were portraying him as a nut job. Murderer.
But then he invoked God's vengeance.
Well.
The motivation I understand.
Yeah, no, they're doing a decent job at, like, showing this guy who's obsessed with... Yoink?
He's yours. And you must go to him.
Oh, Justine.
It's a shame what happens to her.
right. Spoilers.
I think her death is probably the saddest.
Yes, of course.
It's also the one I have the most trouble forgiving the monster for.
Right. Because he manipulates the system.
Yeah.
The very finest brain.
Now, of course, this is all based on the original movie, because none of this is in the book. In the book, I believe, he constructs the body entirely from scratch,
Yeah.
which is why it's so big. Because he has to make the veins really big and everything. It's a hotel.
Just cuts him.
Ah! At least he started small. We always say, like...
Well, he started small in the book, too. He started with, like, cats, didn't he?
I think you're thinking of Reanimator.
Maybe. I don't remember. I thought he started with, like, a cat or a dog or something.
No, because he doesn't reanimate in the book. He... Oh.
Bro?
We forgot about the world's most evil frog.
Yeah.
This is a pretty nice mad scientist rig. Like, that's pretty sweet.
Does that mean that the other doctor also got to this point, though? That he made one?
He said that he made something,
Yeah.
so... It's almost like the previous doctor was the original movie Frankenstein.
I beg you. If I had Helena Bonham Carter be like, please come away
Yeah,
with me.
I would be hard pressed to
I'd
say
be
no.
like, you know what, you're right, fuck science. Sorry, F word. F science.
Sorry, early 90s Helena Bonham Carter. I'm gonna stay with the dead meat.
How can you resist that face?
I know, look at her little tears. Look at her big eyes. Well, she's with Tom Hulse now.
If I was Henry, I'd be like, bro, how did you whiff that?
If I was Henry, I'd be like, yes!
Yes, she's on the market.
Yes. Give her a week. I'm sorry, but so far I like a lot about this.
Yeah.
It's
Look at his abs. What?
I know. This guy had been doing his squats. He'd been doing his chin-ups. He was gonna show it off. Look at this. Weren't people suspicious when he ordered this thing?
I mean, I don't think so. I'm imagining he built it. Or the other doctor already had it.
Okay. Or they just sell them.
Because it's a university town, so people are doing a lot of experimentation.
That's true. This is nuts.
That's awesome. It's good to know. It's good to show that, like.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what that is, or how you made it, or why. But go for it, dude.
It's good to show that he's not the only one who's made this mistake, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's the eels.
Oh.
The eels, just like in Spider-Man 2.
And his undulating flesh sack.
Oh.
Yes!
Yeah, abs for days.
Yeah, what is he? This is not the sickly doctor man that I was
Nope.
promised.
Well,
So it immediately, like, lunges for him. Ugh, God, gross.
a lot of goop. Hey, boy, my slimy boy. Just do this for a few hours.
Oh, is that a... This is gross. I hate it. Ugh.
Can't get enough of this slime. Can't get enough of the
I
slime.
can't watch that. It's so gross.
It's like that scene in Bambi where he's trying to stand on the ice. Whoop.
Oh.
Okay, this is great.
This is so gross. I hate
I can
slime
watch
so
this
much.
forever. His DP is like, Ken, are we done filming the slime stuff? And he's like, no, more.
Can we get out of the slime?
Well, you danced around in the slime for a few minutes. You chained your dude up. You knocked him in the head, and you lifted him off the ground. I'd say this is not what you had in mind. Ugh. That's not his fault he's all slimy. This is not the movie, by the way. This is just De Niro waking up in the morning in his cabbage pile.
Yeah. It's that thing where, like, creating an adult life is bad because the only reason children get away with what they get away with is because they're children.
Right. But this also adds the complication that the original movie adds, which is it has a pre-existing brain. Mm-hmm. So he's got, like, the brain of that professor.
Yeah.
In the original film, it was the brain of a criminal.
But, I mean, how much of the brain of the professor is...
I don't know. I've never understood what that's supposed to imply.
Well, because initially when the book was written, we didn't understand how brains worked.
But that's not in the book.
Right.
In the
And-
movies, they add the whole thing with the brain being added to it, but that doesn't seem to have paid off in any way.
No. It seems to be taking a more, like, philosophical approach to evil.
So is he immune to cholera?
Well, he's dead. He's made up of dead people. I think he's made up of a ton of dead people who died of cholera. So, yeah, he is made of vaccines.
He's the most immune.
Yeah. He really just needs to get, like, a mask.
He's like, oh god, here we go again. Hey, somebody just jumped into your dead cart. If they wants to be on the dead cart, they gets to be on the dead cart.
So that's how he gets out of town.
I see.
But how does he learn who his creator is? Oh, it's
Dude,
'cause-
you just dropped a dead guy. Go back and pick him up.
Because the name Frankenstein is in his coat or whatever.
Yes, he
Yeah.
has all the stuff. He has the book, the diary.
Mhm. He's not sickly looking enough.
He's like, I gotta do my crunches. Oh, you also should not have been such a jerk to Elizabeth.
She's very cross with you.
Cross, I say.
You better write her 100,000 apology letters.
100,000 sheepdogs.
That dog better have survived.
Right, where's the dog? What's his name? Yutzy?
Putsy, Pontsy,
Potsy? Fonzie?
Fozzie Bear. Smack him. Smack him across the face. Damn it.
Oh, please, forgive me.
Smolch, 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 smolch. Smooch, smooch, smooch. Oh, he's blind, I see.
Yeah, the old man was blind in the...
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, because he goes in after like a year or so and he sits and talks to the old man and then Felix shows back up and freaks out.
Right.
But the initial reaction to his appearance makes a lot more sense with the cholera outbreak.
Right.
Because another thing is everyone's always like, why was everyone so mean to him immediately? It's because they think he is infected with cholera.
Well, also in the original novel, he's 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
He's a massive brute.
Mm-hmm. I think the brain thing only comes into play to explain why the creature is so intelligent.
Or can learn.
Or can learn, yeah. I feel like it's a shame that this guy doesn't understand how things work, because if he like showed up and was like, I will work the fields for you, I don't think they care how he looked.
How he looked. But he does bring them food.
He does, yeah.
See? He can take his stitches out now. He should have gotten those dissolving stitches. Now, once he takes the stitches out, he'll just look like any other ugly guy, and there had to have been plenty of them back then.
Yeah. So what... It doesn't make any sense, is what I'm saying.
He's still very strong, though.
He's very strong, but he just looks like a guy who got hurt.
Right. Oh. Strong there, buddy.
He doesn't...
He doesn't have his journal! Victor! Now he's realizing, oh no.
Now he just looks like a guy.
Now he looks like a guy.
So maybe the cholera outbreak is meant to be like, everyone thinks he's infected with cholera. But I guess why would you then just try and murder that guy? Why would a
person with... Yeah, I don't know. Why would a person with cholera be covered in stitches, scars?
I don't know. There's gotta be... Something has got to happen. Like,
I mean, he can't be the only person walking around with a scarred up face, is what I'm saying. Like, that's got to be more common than not.
Also, how have they not found him?
I know, he's just in the pigsty right next door.
Yeah.
He's attached to the house. He doesn't even wait till they're gone for more than a minute. He's just like...
Are you the good spirit of the forest?
Not exactly.
Oh.
Where's your father?
Oh.
Where's your
Maybe you're right.
Who's there? Maggie?
That's amazing.
I made a snow job of the hat.
Get away! Get away!
What? I don't understand what's happening. Well.
It can't be as bad as that.
Oh, let me tell you.
It's so far, everything's just been a misunderstanding.
Yeah. Aww. Aww. We hate that. We don't like to see that.
No. That's a pretty awesome
But
shot.
also, like... Oh, well, there you go.
Again, a lot of just
Yeah,
misunderstandings.
if you just sit down and talk.
This is like Captain America Civil War all over again. Although it's not like it's unheard of for the like child revenge against parents for being born thing.
Oh, no. I mean, yeah, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if the old blind man had just been like, no, wait, he's the one who saved me. He saved me.
Yeah, I mean, the old blind man tried,
I guess they would have had to have run anyway since the landlord got killed. Like,
Yeah.
people would have come looking for him and just blamed them. So he walked all the way to Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
Yes!
I forget how Willie dies.
Gets killed by the monster.
Yeah.
Don't dawdle, William.
So this is where William's gonna get murdered?
Willie.
Willie? His William.
Well, I know that. they never call him William. They just call him Willie.
The whole way that she gets, like, blamed for it really upset me in the book. I remember that.
I
much.
know. We talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
Pleased to see you.
Wait, I could have sworn I saw that kid's hand move.
That kid was definitely keeping himself upright as well during that whole thing.
Wait, I thought I saw the kid grab his hand.
Did you?
I'm confused. Is he supposed to be dead?
I don't know. Yes.
What a wonderful dream.
Wedding. She loves you dearly.
Now she looks like Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
Happened to her. She's all I've got. Please help me.
God, how long's Justine been missing?
We'll organize another search now that it's light.
Gone wild! This is a lynching mob! Oh, stop! This is unlawful!
Why'd you bring her out?
Right. Look at her. No. So this makes more... Okay.
This makes way more sense.
Because in the book, it's an actual trial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Even though it's so, like, she didn't do it. I hope
Well-
they release a statement that says Justine didn't do it, and then everybody
What about Justine?
dies.
We cut her down so we can bury her in the morning.
well. How do you like them apples?
The sea of ice.
Victor's like, wait, you're alive? I didn't know that.
Wait, who are you? It's like, I'm sorry, do I know you? Well, this day just gets worse and worse.
He doesn't seem that freaked out about it.
He's like, this
What?
honestly isn't the worst thing that's happened today, so...
Yeah. Again, they haven't done a very good job at making the monster sympathetic in this
No,
one.
he's
just...
terrifying, though.
Yeah.
Like...
Is he gonna ask him to make him a wife again in this one?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, and we had this discussion in the book. I didn't find the monster that sympathetic in the book to begin with. I found it sad what happened to him, but also he's so whiny in the book.
He is, yeah.
Especially when it comes to, like, the whole build me a woman thing.
Yeah,
where he's
that's
like,
weird.
I deserve a girlfriend. That's when I was like, okay, look.
Also, just like, in the book, his situation, I feel, makes more sense.
Whose situation?
The monster situation. Because in the book, he wakes up, Victor freaks the hell out.
Ah. Wow. We don't get many jumping monsters
We
in these
don't.
Frankenstein movies. He should jump more. Yeah, in the book, Victor's a lot less together.
He's like 20 in the
Yeah,
book.
he's like a thoughtless schoolboy.
Mhm.
I don't think anyone deserves what they get in the book.
No.
I remember us being very angry at the monster for the stuff he does.
Yeah. It's just, it's a really weird situation. And I think it's just that thing where, like, people saw the movie and then heard all of the, like,
Right.
people saying stuff about the movie, and then that's become the, like, opinion.
You gave me these emotions, but you didn't tell me how to.
Well, nobody's ever told that.
Well,
Now, two people are dead because of us.
okay, let's be fair.
Fair. No.
Why?
That's a great question.
He's like, wait,
It's
who's the other?
I had this conversation during my like class like discussion about it because everyone was on the side of the monster.
Right.
I was like, is it then like because during this part they were like, well, it's clearly Victor Frankenstein's fault because he made the monster. And I'm like, well, then is it like should
Any parent be
should
blamed?
any
Yeah.
parent be put to death when their child murders somebody? Like, what do you want here?
Yeah.
Because it's always like, I finally had people to agree that the monster did something bad, and they're like, but then also Victor Frankenstein made it, so it's his fault too. And I was like, what is your logic?
Right.
There is something I want. A friend.
Okay, well, if you stop murdering people.
Right. That's the first step. Step 1, don't murder boys.
You just gotta get into a non-violent encounter with a person.
Right.
The likes of which you can scarcely imagine. There, we would live out our lives.
What if you don't like her?
Right. What if you're like, he does say he has more love than you can imagine, so...
He just sounds like anyone going through puberty.
He does sounds like any incel on the internet.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if just one girl would be nice to me. Stop being such a jerk if one girl would be nice to me.
Yeah.
It's all their fault. My parents weren't cool with me, and now no girls like me. If one girl would like me, then I'd stop being so mad all the time.
Can't you, like, speedrun this process at this point?
What?
Can't you, like, speedrun this process at this
I think that's what he's doing now.
Yeah.
He had to have all of his stuff sent, though. He's got to get all that amniotic fluid again somehow. It's like, my slime reserves are tapped out. Gotta have plenty of goop to dance around in.
But also, like, the monster is also asking, like, I want you to subject another living creature to what I go through.
Mm-hmm. But this time, like, be cool with her.
He's gonna use Justine's body.
Okay, that's kind of messed up, dude.
That's royally effed up.
Because it sucks for you.
Materials, remember? Nothing more. Your words. If you deny me my wedding night, I will be with you on yours.
Well, you're in luck, because Elizabeth's not gonna marry me.
The monster sucks.
The monster sucks. Like, the monster has always sucked.
Yeah.
This is a more accurate monster.
Yeah. It just doesn't fit the broad narrative that we've constructed of this story.
Fits my broad narrative. I like that she has sweat on her face.
Mm-hmm.
How did the conversation between him and the monster end?
I think the monster left.
Because he was like, I'll be with you on your wedding night. And then he just leave?
I guess.
And enjoy.
And also in agonizing grief because everybody you know is dead.
I was going to say, fortunately, the wedding party keeps getting smaller and smaller, so there's fewer people to feed at the reception.
I'm Severus Snape.
I want to see it now! He's conspiring with the dad. Oh.
Okay, dude. That doesn't fix anything.
Did he kill them, or was he just like...
Maybe he was just dead.
He finds him, he's like, oh no. Is he gonna kill Henry then?
That would suck.
Now why don't you go on upstairs to your wife?
A pretty little wife.
I'd keep the gun closer to the bed if I were you.
I wouldn't get distracted by smooching tonight, to be honest.
Don't stop bringing up the brother and sister thing.
We had almost forgotten.
No longer brother and sister.
This is Game of Thrones. Okay. I don't want to... Can we just get to the part where she gets murdered?
Chesty McGee. Bosoms. This movie's got everything.
I'm so tired of it.
Décolletage. On the original movie, they didn't even get this far on the wedding night, so...
No. Oh my god. I don't care.
Smoochin'.
This is so unnecessary.
It's so necessary. Listen, they want you to know that at least they get in one good night before everything goes to hell.
I don't care.
They gotta have one good night.
They had a good life together. I feel like... sex is secondary
dude.
in the relationship. Don't leave her. Are we gonna get a really uncomfortable murder scene for her? I don't want to get a really uncomfortable murder scene for her. That makes me really uncomfortable.
He's got carrot fingers. Oh!
Ooh.
Well, that'll do it. I mean, you're probably not bringing that one back. Oh, and he has Justine's heart.
Mm-hmm. I wonder I'm imagining it doesn't work, obviously.
Oh. So he puts her on Justine's body. I thought he was just going to take out Justine's heart.
I
and
feel like that would work better.
Sew it in. Yeah, as opposed to this. So are your, like, the bottoms of your feet sore for a while after you get resurrected?
Do you feel anything?
Yeah. Oh, poor Henry. I feel bad for Henry the most.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm just trying to be a good friend. Does that help? Does that work?
This is not going the direction I thought it was going in.
Yeah, in the book, he never ends up finishing the bride.
Yeah. Well, something's gonna go wrong. I mean, this is also already very wrong.
Uh-huh, yeah. Something else is going to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they live happily ever after. I guess he just really wanted her to have Elizabeth's hands.
It's all a dream.
A wonderful dream.
I hope it's all a dream. Maybe this is like this is what he thinks is gonna happen, and then...
Oh, is this one of those movies where at the end you're like, okay, at what point did the movie start being a dream?
Yeah. Maybe this is what he thinks is gonna happen. She's dead.
Sir, this isn't going well, sir. Sir. He should do a slow clap.
If I was Elizabeth, I'd be like, yeet.
Yeah. We ship them.
I don't. I think this is all really creepy and gross for both of them.
Nah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful love. At this point, he just looks like Robert De Niro.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is exactly what I wanted her to do. That is the only good way her story could have ended.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how fire works.
It's magic fire.
Does that mean is Henry dead too?
He's like, what's going on?
What did he say?
It's a long story.
What?
Huh?
Who are you? He never gave me a name.
Why do you weep?
He was my father. Captain,
He has a right to bear witness.
Captain's a solid guy.
He's a solid dude. Oh, this is that guy who killed that little boy, by the way.
Yep.
It's an even bigger monster.
It's Branagh. He's rising.
Oh yeah, there's two Frankensteins, a green one and a red one. They're gonna fight now.
I am done with man.
But thanks for the offer.
Thanks for the stick.
The captain is the only one who's had a normal reaction to the creature.
Right. There they go.
What about Henry?
What about me?
Where to now, Captain?
South.
Let's go home.
We'll go south.
We'll go south, yeah.
'Twas beauty killed the beast. Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein, 1994's Frankenstein. First impressions?
Awesome.
Pretty good movie. I knew it was a good movie.
It was good.
Everyone hates this movie.
Why?
This movie is universally loathed by almost everyone. It was released. The critical response, yes. Roger Ebert was like, I like the stuff with the creature. The film's too frantic, so manic. It doesn't pause.
But that's what that story is.
Janet Maslin was like, Branagh's in over his head. He displays neither the technical finesse to handle a big, visually ambitious film, nor the insight to develop a stirring new version of the story. Instead, this is a bland, no-fault Frankenstein for the 90s, short on villainy, but loaded with the tragically misunderstood. Even the creature, an aesthetically challenged loner with a father who rejected him, would make a dandy guest on any daytime television television talk
Did they
show.
watch the same movie as us?
But look, it looks like audiences liked it enough. Have B-. It didn't do very well. It was nominated for Best Makeup for the Academy Award, even though it's nominated for a slew of Saturn Awards. But it didn't win anything. Ended up grossing, it grossed more than twice its budget. This was made on a $45 million budget, which is pretty small. But let's talk about Ken Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. First of all, Kenneth Branagh, what did you think of him as a Victor?
He was Victor?
What do you mean?
He was playing Victor?
Yes, he directed and starred in it.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, that was Kenneth Branagh this entire time.
I had no idea.
What did you think of Kenneth Branagh?
I liked him.
Yeah, pretty good for a guy who directed and starred in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's Ken Branagh's thing. He would always star in all of his movies.
Okay.
Starting with Henry V, his first film. That was him. That was him. Shirt and everything. Shirtless.
Okay.
Chest, abs, and all.
All right.
Yeah, pretty abtastic film for Branagh.
Yeah, definitely didn't look like Victor Frankenstein, in my opinion.
In the sense that
Victor Frankenstein is always like a scrawny, like, kind of like guy, like especially like at the end or near like the middle or whatever.
Right, he never looks like he's been through it.
He never looks like he would be playing Thor.
He does look like, in this movie, he looks like, when did you have time to study what with all the crunches and reps you must have been doing up in that laboratory? Yeah, when he takes off his shirt, when he took off his shirt, you literally said, like, abs.
Yep.
You're like, oh my god, abs.
Abs? What? He also is super tan.
In such a way that, like, I don't even think people had abs back then.
No. Well, nobody has abs like that.
Unless they try to get abs like that. Right. Yeah, he had to have been like doing like curls, like hanging from the ceiling. Like, yeah. He looked good though.
He did,
because he wasn't all like Marvel.
No, he didn't
up.
dehydrate himself and
he looked like a guy who just went to the gym a lot. And you see, yes, as you said, he was way too tanned for a guy who's in his lab all day in like Vienna or wherever he is. So our next lead is Helena Bonham Carter as the beautiful Elizabeth Frankenstein.
Yep.
As you pointed out, they went she's a foundling, her parents died, so we avoided the whole cousin thing. However, they immediately, like,
quite frequently refer to each other as brother and sister consistently.
Yeah, and then like throughout the movie, he's like, "This is weird that we're like brother and sister, but we're so into each other." I'm gonna take my headphones off because I don't need them anymore.
Oh yeah, I forgot about these.
So Elizabeth Frankenstein,
she was great.
Helena Bonham Carter's amazing. Like, she's such a good actress.
Yeah, like it's so easy to like typecast her nowadays as like evil crazy lady. But she's really good.
Yes, and she does play, as you said, she plays the eccentric, the evil weirdo very well.
Yeah, in
movies. But yeah, remember at the time in the 1990s, Helena Bonham Carter was an ingenue. She was known for playing young, lovely, virginal.
She was really good in this movie as Elizabeth. Like, I feel like there's a lot of like some of the other adaptations we've seen have made Elizabeth be this sort of maiden in distress, or just this like wispy like whatever. But in this one, Elizabeth is a lot more intense, and I think that is better. Well, because I don't feel like Victor Frankenstein as a character, it goes for the wispy like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. She seems like someone who's his intellectual equal, who is his social equal, and who like. They just seem to enjoy hanging around each other. Yeah. Like this being with each other. As we pointed out, Bilbo Baggins, Ian Holm was his father, was Baron Frankenstein. And Tom Hulce plays Henry, who he ends up meeting in college. And when they're all together, they all seem like they really emphasize how happy they are as a family. This is a good, just a loving family. Everyone likes each other. There's Mrs. Moritz and there's Justine Moritz. And Justine is the nursemaid who lives in the house, and she takes care of little Willie Frankenstein, who is the son of the parents, and then the mother dies giving birth to Willie.
Yes.
Carolyn Frankenstein dies giving birth during an impromptu C-section.
Yeah.
It's very bloody.
Because when you do an impromptu C-section in the 1700s...
Yes, in an era before they've invented the C-section.
Yep.
It's not gonna come out well. We do get to see quite a few birthing chairs in this movie.
2.
Yes, that's more than you usually do.
That is more than you usually see.
We see quite a few birthing chairs. This movie does not mince your feelings about what it was like to give birth at the time.
No.
I will say though that the birthing chair is a lot more conducive to giving birth than the laying in bed technique that we're so fond of in the States.
Like, aren't you supposed to be standing?
You're supposed to be upright.
Yeah.
Like, it helps. The gravity helps.
Yeah.
And you got the handles there, the birthing chair.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to the uncredited and deleted scenes. Willow just pointed out that Faye Ripley is credited as Whore.
Yep.
Who was in deleted scenes. Faye Ripley's an English actress. So Victor goes off to school. John Cleese is Professor Waldman, who is from the novel.
Yep.
John Cleese in a dramatic role that we don't usually see. Cleese. I mentioned that we saw him in Time Bandits, and you were like, who? He played. I mean, he's a Monty Python actor.
Yeah.
He played Robin Hood in Time Bandits, and this he's Waldman. He's a very serious, intense, dramatic character, and I was like, man, I really wish we'd gotten to see more John Cleese playing dramatic roles because he's really good. I really like in his small time on screen. He's good, and
they did a really good job with characters like that, where they really make you feel the impact of their death after you've only known them for like 5 seconds.
Yes, and they do a lot. He does a really good job script wise with taking the characters like Waldman and sort of upping his involvement in the story, like sort of being like, not only is he his mentor, this guy has actually created life himself.
Yeah.
Like, so the research is there already. And he's like, no, I did it and it turned out terrible. You don't ever want to go down that road.
Which I think adds to that, like, young hubris sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the obsession that Victor Frankenstein had in the novel was just a really long, like, he wanted to prove that he could do it.
Right.
Yeah. But in the sort of like the young sort of overtaking the old.
Yes.
Which is I think it was a pretty common motif in the 90s. In like movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think added a lot to the story. Because they'd sort of skipped out on the Victor's reasoning initially. In the book, they added some stuff with the, like, wanting to create life not wanting to create life, he wanted to stop death.
Right.
Which is the opposite of what he wanted to do in the other one.
Right, because his mother gives birth and dies when Victor's already a young man.
Yeah.
Because Willie is much younger, as it is in the book.
Yep.
But his mother dies in the book.
Of scarlet fever.
Right.
Because she's nursing Elizabeth back
to health. Right.
Yeah.
So in the book, you have more the Victor blaming Elizabeth for his mother's death. In this, it's more Victor just is like, she shouldn't have died. I wrecked my father when she died. No one should have to die. Mm-hmm. But that slowly becomes, I can bring things back to life, and then slowly becomes, I can make life. Mm-hmm. And Robert Hardy, Cornelius Fudge himself, who plays Professor Kremp, is really positioned as the guy who's like, this is against the natural order of things.
But as we discussed while watching the movie, his points are easily argued against.
His points are easily argued against, and I appreciate the fact that, also, Professor Waldman is introduced as someone who believes in, he's developed the theory of inoculation and vaccines.
Yeah.
Trying to vaccinate the town against
cholera.
And how the people in the town are, like, freaked out by it.
Well, it's not the people.
It's one guy.
It's one guy.
But he's freaked. This one guy freaks out by it, doesn't want to get vaccinated, and murders Professor Waldman. And he ends up being the guy who Victor cuts down and uses as sort of the base for his creation. And it's interesting because it throws a lot of things at you, like the necessity of death, the creation of life, vaccination, like the ignorance of the masses, scientific progress versus like hubris. As you said, Professor.
Don't you on.
I was going to say, Professor Kremp is like, we have already figured this stuff out. You can't dabble in these waters. Which is similar to what people said at the time, which is like, we've already figured out science. You can't learn anything else. We know everything.
It's the thing that bothered me the most about it was just the absolute denial of all of the past sort of sciences, like alchemy and all of that stuff, because a lot of science grew out of those fields, which is a well-documented thing.
But also, Victor doesn't really do science well in the sense that he kind of jumps into it with both feet and then shuts everybody out of his life.
Victor's not a healthy individual.
He's not a healthy individual. He's physically healthy. But he brings a frog back to life.
Yeah.
You see him bring a frog. He needs amniotic fluid, which it's our next time seeing the birthing chair. He catches amniotic fluid in a bucket and then buys it out of the back door. He brings a frog back to life, and we're like, oh, he brought a frog back to life. But then what does the frog do? It's super strong, frog.
Yep.
It's strong. I wish that frog had kind of been there with him the whole time. Like, you see it in the background, like, getting angrier and angrier, like, tearing things up. And he's like, where's that frog?
Yep.
Because the frog breaks the glass dish it's in. And that's our first indication that things might come back wrong. Which isn't... Or just strong, I guess.
Just strong. Because they don't come back wrong.
He puts Waldman's brain in his creation.
Yeah. As he says, it's just material components or whatever he says.
Yes. He needs a brain for this creation, but he can't use the brain that was in the dead body he got for reasons. I guess, I don't know. Maybe because he was hanged. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the lab equipment.
It's awesome.
This production design in this, I remember thinking it was overblown when I first saw it. I saw it this time and I was like, heck no. This lab, it looks awesome. Plus, it sort of walks you through how it works. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense the way he describes it.
There's certain things in like movies and stuff with suspension of belief. If you over-explain something, you start thinking about it too much, it stops making sense. This one, I think, balances that really well. Because it doesn't explain anything.
But it's like, we use, like, the Chinese use acupuncture to, like, stimulate the electrical current, so we're going to stick needles into the thing, and then the amniotic fluid, they're going to float in that.
As the process is happening, they don't say anything. They just show you the cause and the effect of each step, so you don't try and overthink how it works.
Right. In the novel, he builds the body by hand. In the novel, he has to, like, build the veins and everything, which, as we said, is why the monster is so huge in the novel, because he has to make the veins and the vessels larger than normal just so he can work with them. In this, it's assembled from one main body, but then he has to, like, attach parts onto it.
Pieces were missing from the main body.
Right. And parts were damaged, and he wanted this to be his idea is he wants to not only create life, but create life that'll never get sick, that can't die, that'll be healthy and perfect.
Yep.
He wants to create, because he doesn't want to see things die. And I understand that. Like, it goes beyond what Frankenstein was doing in previous films, which is just, I want to create life, which was, of course, our joke.
Yep.
About everyone knows how to create life. This time, you're like, oh, he's trying to create he's trying to perfect life.
Yeah, he's not trying to create life at this point. He's just trying to stop death.
He doesn't think anyone should have to die. And so he brings this thing to life with electric eels.
Yep.
And amniotic fluid. How long would you say they dance in the goop after the monster comes to life? They dance in the goop.
I think they could have danced in the goop for maybe 2 seconds, and it would have been enough.
He has to pick the monster up. The monster's in goop. The floor is slippy, and they're both covered in goop. And by goop, I mean like goop.
Yeah.
It's goop, and he tries to pick the monster up, and they fall. And then he tries to pick the monster up again, and they fall. And then he tries to pick the monster up again, and they fall.
And that keeps happening.
And that happens quite a few times. Now, I was having the time of my life while this was happening. Best scene in the movie. Probably, I'd go so far as to say best scene in film. But you were not enjoying yourself.
No, I don't like it. I don't understand. There's 2 scenes in this movie I find completely unnecessary.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you like a lot of goop and slime?
0.
Covered in it. On a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you like a bunch of people kissing and hugging?
That was not what was happening in that scene.
Willow doesn't like goop and slime.
Nope.
Doesn't like maggots.
Nope.
And doesn't like a lot of sex in a scene.
No.
I just rewatched House by the Cemetery, I think, one of the Fulci movies. There's a scene, which you would love. It'd be your favorite scene of all time, be your favorite scene of history of movies, where for no reason that I could figure out, all the main characters are in a house, and the window the window explodes inward on them.
Mm-hmm.
And how many maggots would you think blow in through the window?
100 billion.
All of the maggots of all time. They must have taken a cannon full of maggots and just blown them in. What do the people in the room do? Do they leave the room? No, they stand there have maggots blown on them until they're wading in maggots. Their feet are covered in maggots in the floor. They're covered in maggots, but they won't leave the room. They're like, oh no, more maggots are coming in. Willow, would you believe me if I were to tell you that these were real maggots?
I think if I was in that movie, I would set myself on fire.
They are waiting in real maggots. They are covered in real maggots, and they won't leave the room for the whole. The phone gets covered in maggots, and then he has to use the phone, and so he just picks up the phone and kind of brushes. I'm like, go into another room instead, and it's just a cannon of maggots just continues to shoot. I was watching that scene, and I was like, Willow would love this. Willow would be like, please, Father, may we watch this scene again.
Nope. I don't like maggots. There were no maggots in this movie.
There were no maggots, surprisingly enough, in this movie.
Just the two other things I hate.
Sex and goop. Sex and goop. So he dances with the monster in the goop. He manages to get the monster upright on a bunch of chains. But unfortunately, the sandbags fall and it hauls the monster up and he thinks the monster is dead.
Yeah, it conks him on the head.
Yes.
He thinks the monster's dead. He goes to take a nap.
Wakes up, sees the monster again, thinks the monster's gone again.
Well, because he sees the monster again and the monster like goes at him.
Yeah.
I don't think it was intentionally angry going.
It's just confused. It's a confused beast.
But when a large creature that you thought was dead lunges at you and you can't communicate with it and you already think something is happening. You're clearly not in your right state of mind because you just created this thing.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell if something's being aggressive or if something is confused and trying to grab onto you.
Yes, it's less what happens in the novel. In the novel, he's like, I can't believe what I created, and he runs away.
Yeah.
In this, he thinks the creature has died, or it's just, it didn't work properly, and he abandons it. He's going to come back and burn everything and destroy everything, but then the monster escapes.
Yeah.
But
he does want to go after it with an axe.
But he thinks that because there's a cholera epidemic going on in town, the monster's going to die anyway. Nothing can survive this cholera epidemic. But he's wrong.
Yep.
And then it kind of follows the plot of the novel for a while. The monster, the creature.
Before he brings the monster to life, Elizabeth comes to see him.
Right.
Because there's another plot going on the side. Elizabeth has been writing letters to herself to pretend to be him.
Yes.
She gets told by Justine, hey, you really should go see him. If he was mine, I would have already gone to see him.
Justine is played by Trevin McDowell, who's a South African actress. And for a role that is very much not very much, and you can tell that Justine is in love with Victor. They kind of have that in that scene. I think Trevin McDowell does a really good... I think she brings a lot of character to Justine. And even to Celia Imrie as Mrs. Moritz, Justine's mother. Like, in the few lines she has, they all do a really good job.
Yeah, this movie is full of very good jobs.
Speaking of very good jobs, we now have a creation, a monster, a boy.
A boy.
Played by...
Robert De Niro.
Goodfellas' own Robert De Niro. It's our second time seeing De Niro.
Yep.
How do you think this role stacks up to his performance in Goodfellas?
I think it's great. I think he does a really good job.
He does a really good job. And I think they did a really good job at you not knowing that was De Niro when he plays the one-legged man who kills Waldman. Like, they have him done up looking totally not like De Niro. We should also mention this movie is bookended, just like in the novel, by the ship's captain, Captain Walton, played by Aidan Quinn. I couldn't remember his name while we were watching it. We love Aidan Quinn. He is the handsomest man in the movie, indefinitely. We love his face. He has beautiful blue eyes. He looks great.
He does.
Especially for a guy who's apparently been stranded with his crew for a while. They really play up his hubris in this. They really, really play up the parallel between him and Victor.
Well, because I think in the original book, the hubris isn't played up at all for either of them. Like, it's less the sort of way we view the sin of hubris and more just, this is a guy who was trying to do something and he shouldn't have been. but he wasn't like maniacal about it. Like he wasn't like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be the greatest man in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
They really make this, I am going to create something that can outlive and beat death.
Yeah.
And Captain Walton is trying to find the Northern Passage. And his crew is on the verge of mutiny. They say it out loud. Big problem for the movie right off the bat, though. The first thing that happens is the creation is out there, kills all the dogs.
Yes, immediately murders all the dogs.
How cute are these dogs?
They're so cute.
These are the cutest sled dogs in the world. And they go running into the fog, and then you hear them all die.
Yep, we see them die.
So you're like, already the monster's a monster.
Already the monster off on a bad foot.
There and then we get introduced to Potsy, Pootsy.
Actually, okay. Question: is the monster the one who kills the dog?
Yes.
Well, because the person who comes out of this smoke or the fog or whatever isn't the monster.
But I don't think Victor Frankenstein could have single-handed. No. He was dying. I don't think he could have single-handedly killed a bunch of sled dogs. We meet Putsy, the dog, later on. The sheepdog, who's beautiful. And you were like, nothing bad ever happened to Putsy. And nothing does.
Nope.
Footsy, maybe?
No,
Futsy?
it's like Pantsy or something.
Whatever. We also meet Tom Hulse as Henry Clerval, the best friend and lover of Victor Frankenstein. We love him.
Okay, they were definitely more like gay-coded in the book.
In the book, yes.
In this one, they try really hard to not make it that way.
Tom Hulse has a slightly effeminate quality to himself anyway. I think it's just it's sort of and I hate using the term effeminate, but you know what I mean. He's a little more fey than Ken Branagh. Ken Branagh is a man's man. And Tom Hulse isn't afraid to play a softer touch to a man. That's in all of his roles. And I love Tom Hulse. He's very funny. He's a very gentle soul. He's a hilarious actor. And I like him as Victor's friend.
Yeah.
He's just trying to take care of his buddy.
He is. And he gets along with Elizabeth. He inherits... Does he inherit Victor Frankenstein's dad's practice? Is that what it is?
Yes. He brings him home. He's like, we need somebody who knows how to be a doctor. And he just sees this guy who just wants to hang out and be friends with this guy. And he feels appreciated. I don't know. I like watching them together. So... most of the movie follows the course of the book. He meets the family. He meets the blind man. He gets chased out of the way. He kills Willie, the little boy. He frames Justine for it. Justine is not sent to trial in the movie.
No.
In the movie, she is lynched by a mob.
Which is horrifying.
It is a terrible scene. She's screaming and crying. She gets thrown over the balustrade. Her neck gets snapped. We hate a mob.
Yep. That actually made me angry.
Yes. It's
that whole scene.
But they managed, script-wise, he ties in the creature's demand of a partner with that. The creature brings him Justine's body and is like, bring her back to life. Make her my partner.
And he says, absolutely not.
Which they could have left it at that, because that's kind of what happened. In the book, he starts making a woman, and then he's like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. This is gross. And the creature is like, then I'll be with you on your wedding night, which happens in the movie. The creature is there on his wedding night to Elizabeth. And what happens to poor Elizabeth?
Well, there's a lot that happens. So he takes Elizabeth to go, and brings a bunch of guards with him. Henry stays back to watch the dad, who died. He
died. We don't know how.
Yeah.
The monster's with him.
Yep.
So at least he wasn't alone.
I think he would have rather. They go to they're going to get on a ferry to leave, but there's no ferries left. Which I'm thinking, you're really rich. I'm sure you could find somebody who'd be willing to ferry you across.
Throw some coins at the guy. The guy will take you across the ferry.
Yeah. But they stay in an inn or whatever, and the monster lures Victor, which I don't understand how Victor fell for that, but fine. Out of the place, goes to murder. Doesn't initially go to murder Elizabeth.
Right. We think something bad might have been on his mind.
Well, definitely. Did you see the way that was being filmed?
Yeah. And you were like, this better not happen.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it doesn't happen.
Because Victor Frankenstein bursts in. And the monster rips her heart out.
Punches his heart through her chest, rips her heart out.
Punches his heart through her chest.
Punches his fist through her chest, rips out her heart, holds it up, it beats once. Then she falls out of the bed and her head catches on fire. No, she doesn't fall out of the bed.
He throws her out of the bed.
And her head catches on fire, which is bad.
Yep.
Victor takes her to his lab and is like, you know what? I'm going to bring her back to life. I thought he was just going to put Justine's heart into her body.
Because that would make sense.
That would make sense. You cut out the heart, you attach it.
It's that thing where this science in this, not the science in the book and the science in this are two very different, because the science in the book is very delicate and very, like, intent.
Yes.
Like, purposeful. The science in the movie is very brutal.
Yes.
So, and, you know, heart transplants aren't exactly, like, brutal things. Like, you have to be very
You gotta be, but you know what is a little even, probably needs a little more care than a heart transplant? A head transplant.
Yeah.
He cuts off Elizabeth's head and puts it on Justine's head, just throws Justine's head on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just laying there later on. But he also cuts off her hands and transplants the hands, which is very poetic. It's not called attention to very much.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, oh, he wants her to have Elizabeth's hands. Goes through the rigmarole, puts her in the goop.
It's because Elizabeth can play the piano.
But you know what? That's probably tied to the brain more than the fingers.
But the way that the monster spoke was when he was remembering how to do things.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily the brain.
It's
It
tied
was
to
the
the
very.
flesh.
It was the very.
The flesh, like in The Fly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know the flesh.
No.
So he brings her back. Is she happy about it?
It's hard to tell at first. So what
Is it
happens-
the saddest moment in the movie?
It is the saddest moment in the movie. He brings her back. He's trying to get her to remember him. They're dancing, and he sees the monster, and the monster is like, Elizabeth, come to me. And she's like, I don't know what's happening, because I am a newborn.
Yes, she's a newborn. She's severely brain damaged.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know what's happening. This guy just woke her up and started dancing with her. Probably wasn't the best first thing to do.
No.
When you've resurrected a body, a good waltz, a good strong waltz, that's like the third day of
To be
rebirth.
fair, she was the one who initiated the dancing.
True, but if you were the doctor, probably should have been like, let's work on the talking.
He was also like mad with grief.
He was.
Yeah.
So the monster is like, that's mine.
And he's like, no. And Elizabeth is like, ah. And then she's like, I actually don't want to be alive anymore.
Yep.
This is horrifying. What have you
Mhm.
done? She rips away from both of them as they're like tug of warring over her, and sets herself on fire.
Yep, she picks up a lantern and just smashes it over her head with her very strong hands, which sets her on fire. You cheered.
Yep.
Which was a response. I was like, oh, you were like, yay!
Look, okay, so here's the thing. There's this woman who was in love with her husband. They were doing their wedding night thing. She gets murdered by this creature. And understands fundamentally what Victor did to make that creature. She gets brought back in the same way that creature did. She doesn't remember most things. She knows that she loves Victor, but clearly she's been turned into a monster. Like, she can see the stitches, whatever. And she has no control over her life. There's these two men fighting over her. And she knows that she's going to be rejected by society. The only thing that she can do to take control of her life is to set herself on fire.
No, it's great. She sets herself on fire. She goes running out of the building, makes it all the way downstairs.
And dies.
She
throws herself off the stairs.
She throws herself off the stairs. I mean, clearly, it's an amazing sequence.
Yeah.
It looks great. And then it's just kind of like, and then we ended up going to the North Pole.
Yeah.
They ended up going to the North Pole. Different ending than the book, though.
Yeah.
And the book ends with them both floating away. Does Victor die in the book?
No.
Yeah.
Victor does die in the book. The monster breaks into the ship and brings his body out.
Right.
Yeah.
In this, Victor dies. The monster's found there crying with him, or crying over him. The ship's captain puts him on a pyre and is like, look, this guy was the guy's kid, I guess?
The ship captain breaks it, like, goes through, is like, who are you? The guy's like, blah, 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 blah. And this is the first time we've seen a person have an actual normal reaction to the creature.
Yeah.
Because all we've seen so far is people massively overreacting.
Right. So, Robert De Niro initially looks like he was all stitched together from different skin grafts. By the end of the movie, he just looks like Robert De Niro.
Who's been in, like, an accident.
A fight. Like a car accident. He looks like a guy who has a bunch of scarring on his face. But as I said before, I don't think in 1700s, 1800s, it was that unusual to see somebody with a pretty messed up face.
Yeah. It's not like they had plastic surgery back then.
And plus, De Niro's not big.
No.
He's a smallish man.
He just looks like a guy who got hit in the face and had somebody stitch him up.
Yeah, he looks rough, but you know. So yeah, they burst in. He's there, and he's like, "Well, who are you?" And De Niro says probably the saddest line in the movie, which is, "He never gave me a name."
Yeah. And the ship captain lowers his gun and is like, let's have a funeral. He doesn't
Yeah.
say that, but that's like kind of what
Right.
happens. And they treat him like a person.
Yeah. For the first time.
For the first time. And they bring him, they have like a pyre. They're going to light the pyre, but then the ice cracks to free them.
Right. The
'Cause
boat's
they've
been trapped in the ice.
Yeah. So everything starts collapsing around them. The ship captain drops the torch as he's being pulled up to the ship. And the creature grabs it and starts swimming towards the body. Gets to the body, somehow doesn't douse the torch, which is incredible. I was so tense that whole time.
He's like, ah!
And sets the body on fire as well as himself.
Right.
And they drift into the distance.
And the book ends with the monster just drifting off on an ice floe. Presumably to roam the Arctic forever.
And then, when Victor had initially died, the ship captain's like first mate or whatever had asked, like, hey, where are we going now? And he said north. Like, we're going to keep going north. And then at the end of the movie, after all of that occurs, the first mate asks again, and he just says, we're going home.
Right. Because he's learned, like, this guy pursued and pursued no matter, although everyone told him to stop. And look where he ended up, burning on an ice floe. Let's go home. Now, we do need to talk about Fay Ripley.
Yeah, what is this?
Fay Ripley played a prostitute, a sex worker in this movie, in a scene that was cut. It says scenes, but it's a scene that was cut. She's a British actress.
Yeah.
Fay Ripley. I wonder if I would recognize her if I saw her now. Fay Ripley. She's a British actress. I believe the role was, yes, the monster, I think they're going to make her into the bride at first. It's something like that.
Yeah.
And those scenes were obviously cut. Let me see. Aha. There's a reanimated dog scene.
Okay.
And a Fay Ripley scene. Yeah, so originally this movie got an NC-17 rating for gore. And so, yeah, apparently there is a work cut that floats around. A little trivia. They weren't allowed to use the word monster. He's referred to as the sharp-featured man in the credits. Yep, this was originally going to be a Coppola film, but then Branagh got his hands on it. Everyone hated this movie, remember? Everyone hated it. Christopher Lee hated this movie. The screenwriter hated this movie.
But why?
They all hated this movie. Coppola publicly denounced this movie. I'm going to let you in on a little bit of trivia. Francis Ford Coppola publicly denounced this movie. Francis Ford Coppola publicly supported Victor Salva, the pedophile director of Jeepers Creepers. Francis Ford Coppola is the whole reason Victor Salva continued to work in Hollywood. He's like, I don't care that Victor Salva was found guilty and imprisoned for sexually assaulting and molesting and raping this 12-year-old boy. Francis Ford Coppola personally threatened the 12-year-old boy and said, you'll never work in this industry again if you speak out against Victor Salva. Francis Ford Coppola continues to go to the mat for Victor Salva and is like, he's a genius and he deserves to work. The Jeepers Creepers guy, Francis Ford Coppola, publicly denounced this movie. That's all I have to say about Francis Ford Coppola. F that guy. They tried to get Tim Burton to direct. I'm trying to find the stuff about the prostitute, but I don't know. I can't find it. It's the first film featuring not Emma Thompson, directed by Kim Branagh, because they had already had they'd split.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe was offered the role of the Doctor, which is crazy. He seemed like he would be like a little more, what's the wrong word? A little more mad scientist-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to cast Gerard Depardieu as the creature. Oh, I don't think so.
No.
That would have been...
Roman Polanski was approached.
Roman Polanski was approached to direct. How about no?
John Cleese shot his part in 2 weeks.
That makes sense. Theatrical debut of Hugh Bonneville, Who plays a bully?
That was that one guy who like shoved past both of them. That was weird.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't really even needed to be. Maybe he had more scenes.
Yeah. She was bitten by Robert De Niro, but her scenes never made the final cut. This would have been her debut.
Filmed a small role. She was bitten by Robert De Niro in the scene, or just like backstage. I don't really go into it. So the prostitute would have been bitten by the creature and turned into a creature, I guess. Maybe he bit her and killed her. And then brought her, like maybe it was like she was a prostitute. Maybe he like approached her. Yeah.
He couldn't pay. She got upset. And the end version looks like Henry was deleted scenes show he and the Frankenstein survived. Okay.
So I love this. It says, Ian Holm, who played both Victor Frankenstein and the creature on stage in the same production, returns in this version to play Victor's father. A later theatrical production starred Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller, who swapped roles of the Doctor and the creature. Holm had previously played Frodo Baggins on the radio and later returned to play Bilbo, Frodo Baggins' uncle, and then Cumberbatch played Smaug in The Hobbit. I love IMDb trivia.
It's all connected.
Yes. The end version makes it look like Henry was killed, but deleted scenes show he and the Frankenstein servant survived the fire. Just so you know,
Good.
You were Willow was worried about what happened to Henry, who's in the house when it gets set on fire.
He's just laying on the stairs.
But then you don't see him.
Oh my lord.
Let's see. So yeah, there's a lot of references to previous films. There's stuff in the movies that were not in the book. It's almost as if
they all have the same source material.
But no, stuff that's only in the movies that's not in the in like the word friend being the first word.
Producers were resistant to William's on-screen death. Why? That is the.
But Willie doesn't have an on-screen death. He doesn't die on screen.
That's true.
You see Willie and then he's dead.
I guess.
Maybe he died terribly in the original cut.
Maybe, because they were resistant to William's on-screen. Maybe like his corpse.
No. I think what they're saying is the reason we don't see him die on screen is because the producers were like, we can't show the kid getting killed on screen. It would have been funny if he's like, but why? And the scene is like him lifting the child up by his neck and then like punching his head clean off. I don't know. He does describe how he kills the boy.
He crushed the boy's neck.
He crushed the boy's neck. So, Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century. I don't remember why I had that up. So yeah, everyone hated this movie. It made money, but everyone hated it. It was considered by Peter Travers the 3rd worst film of the year. And by Janet Maslin, the 9th worst film of the year.
I don't care what anybody thinks about it. I want to know why.
What did Peter Travers give the worst of the year that year? 3rd worst behind what? The best films were... Well, we can't read it because... the best films... Okay, fine. Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, Hoop Dreams, Ed Wood, yeah. Friends Funeral. Okay, those were all good movies. What were the worst? Natural Born Killers. Wyatt Earp. Was that really one of the worst? And Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I don't know if I agree with this list. Even Cowgirls Get the Blues was far worse than this. Really? The 3rd worst film of the year? This movie was worse than The Flintstones? Come on. Come on.
I don't care if they said it was bad. I want to know why. They said it was bad.
He says Kenneth Branagh's career-crushing attempt to update the Boris Karloff creature. He wasn't a silly, frantic MTV video.
What are they talking about?
What movie did they see? He wasn't updating the Boris Karloff. This was based on a novel. I think that's one of the problems is people were like, why would you want to remake Frankenstein? And I'm like, they're not remaking Frankenstein. They're making another version of Frankenstein.
More accurate to the novel version.
And whether or not you like it, you have to admit it was closer to the novel than the weird versions that we were all used to. Plus, Hammer made like 70 different versions of this movie in the 70s and 60s. Like, why was that? It's that weird thing where people are like, how dare you? But what's funny is they said the same thing when Branagh made Henry V. When he made Henry V, they were like, excuse me, there was already a Henry V movie made. Why do we need another one? And I'm like, because it's just it's the same, like, it's a play. You do that. You make new versions of it. I don't understand why people get so up in our... In any case, Guillermo del Toro really liked this movie.
We can agree with Guillermo del Toro.
Why do you think he did?
Because it's Frankenstein.
It's Frankenstein. And it's got great set design.
It has good creature design, kind of. He just looks like a guy.
He is a guy. But it's so heightened. Like it's operatic. It's very like it's got that style.
It feels like a theater production.
Yeah.
Which I think is why people didn't like it.
I think honestly, I think if you go back and watch Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, there's a lot to like here. It's frenetic, but so what? It's a 2-hour movie. How slow do you want it to be?
And it's also the franticness of the situation. They don't have years to like go over.
Yeah. And it does give you that sense of just like Victor Frankenstein is just sort of barreling through. He's trying to stop death. He's trying to create life. He's trying to create the ultimate life. Like, and he's just doing it. And people they take their time and tell him like, stop, don't do this. And he's like, forget it. So I don't know. I felt like it hit all the beats.
Yeah.
Pretty well. I liked his performance. I liked everyone's performances. Even the little boy.
Yeah.
I felt bad when he died.
Like it's not the sympathetic monster flick.
No, it's not.
That people want Frankenstein to be.
But it's closer to the book.
Yeah.
Where the monster is smart and vengeful and
I think
whiny, kind of ridiculous.
I think it's just that thing where everybody wants there to be a black and white villain. Like everyone wants Victor Frankenstein to be the bad guy.
They want him to be the evil mad scientist.
Like they don't want there to be anything to consider.
Everyone wants to leave the theater going, the scientist was the real monster.
Yeah.
Like they all want to be able to like poke that, even though the book is very clear that this is a complicated morass of morality.
Yeah, like there's no good answer.
Right.
The creature has its issues. Victor has his issues. Are they both to blame for what happened? Kind of.
Yeah.
But also not really. Like it's a conversation to have. It's not a thing that you go like, "Oh, this is how this happened." You got to talk. You have to think about it.
Yes.
And it's easy to not want to do that. And I get it.
And this movie does talk about it.
Yeah.
The screenplay by Steph Lady and Frank Darabont, who both hated this movie, allows those conversations to happen.
Yeah. It's not like it doesn't go with the whole Victor Frankenstein being like, this isn't my fault.
Right.
Like he feels guilt.
Yeah, he feels terrible for all of this. I just thought this was a decent movie. I like this movie.
We're Victor Frankenstein apologists.
That's the position of It's Del Toro time.
Yeah. We're Victor Frankenstein apologists, but we're not monster haters.
We're not monster haters, but it's complicated.
It's complicated.
He shouldn't kill a boy. He shouldn't frame Justine. He shouldn't murder Elizabeth.
Yeah. There's a lot of it's so easy to be like, oh, well, Victor should have just made him the wife, then none of this would have happened. But then you're subjecting another creature to existing as the monster.
Right. I like how they handled the bride thing. I thought that part was creepy and weird. I like this movie.
Yeah. It's, I think, probably one of my favorite versions of Frankenstein that we've seen.
I have the 4K release of this. I don't know where it is. Which I can't watch because my player can't watch 4K. So I had to get this video another way. But the 4K release has a lot of cool special features. It has the deleted scenes and stuff. So check it out. Recommend?
Yeah.
Recommend. Check out this Halloween. Check out Mary Shelley's Victor Frankenstein. Or just Frankenstein.
You know what? I'm going to say this again. I think I've said it every time we've covered Frankenstein. Take a moment to think about it and not just... take a moment to think about it, because it's easy to just fall into that sort of the Victor was the...
My camera took a picture of you.
Victor was the real monster here. It's so easy to fall into that and just accept that as being the stand to take, because it's what people say all the time. Like, it's what people say that's the point of the movie. But think critically.
It's complicated.
There is no black and white answer to anything that happens in this movie.
No.
Except for, hey, don't murder children.
Don't murder children.
That was... The sympathy for the creature goes... It's really sad that he gets harassed by people for having cholera, potentially. Like, that's awful. That's another, like, thing about mob mentality.
Be nice to people.
Be nice to people. It is a shame that there was the misunderstanding with the family and they kicked him out, but also that was a misunderstanding. They didn't do anything wrong.
Also, and someone had just died on their property and they had to leave anyway. We said it before and we'll say it again.
Yeah.
The monster gets whiny. He does it in the book. He demands a girlfriend, and he's like, "I wouldn't be so sad if I had a girlfriend. I wouldn't have to keep killing everyone if I had a girlfriend."
He had I thought it was gonna do the thing where he initially asks, "I want like a friend." I thought it was just going to be, "I want somebody who can understand me. Like, I want a companion." I was like hoping it wasn't going to go with the woman thing, because it's not just him asking for understanding and companionship. At that point, he's asking for Victor to make him a woman who has to love him, which is weird and creepy.
And gross. And that's what I've always said about the creature. We're going to have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
We got to wrap this up. We loved Frankenstein.
We do.
We're looking for...
this isn't to like be like, oh, the monster is just a monster. Again, it's complicated.
It's complicated.
But there's enough of that narrative.
Right. Now... I'm looking forward to...
Arcane Sorcerer.
I'm looking forward to Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to Nosferatu this Christmas. Yes. And there's another Nosferatu coming out with our boy Doug Jones as Nosferatu. So check that out. It's a weird... I didn't know it, so check that out if you have the opportunity. We have, Arcane Sorcerer coming up, which we're going to watch and talk. I have no idea what it's about. No clue. So that'll be our next one. This is the beginning of spooky season. Happy Spookoween. Ghouls and ghosts and ghosts and goblins, ghosts and goblins.
Halloween.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening to us ramble.
Disclaimer, I mentioned previously when we were talking about the movie about like my class discussion and stuff, it made me sound like I was trying to sound like I was smarter than everyone else. I don't mean it that way.
We're not smart at all.
No. We just are really loud and have opinions.
We're really loud, especially when wearing headphones.
Yeah. There's a lot of good points to be made for the monster, like, being the victim.
Yeah, of course. He is very much victimized.
Yeah, there's a bajillion arguments. Obviously, the commentary in the book, we're not trying to say the monster is a write-off.
No. He's a character.
And he's a complicated character.
Yes.
It's the fact that Victor Frankenstein consistently gets written off as just
the monster.
That is the problem.
Right. All right. That is 1994's Frankenstein. Obviously, we'll be coming back with the Arcane Sorcerer, whatever it's about.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being part of this show. You can listen to us. You can watch us on YouTube. Watch and listen to Deep in Bear Country, a Berenstain Bearcast, my other podcast. If you want to, it's out there, and Willow's been on it quite a few times. Otherwise, thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm Phil.
And I'm Willow.
And we'll see you when it's Del Toro time.